with the number of people out there who look at the Warriors, they look at the injuries, they look at the behavior, and they go, oh, what's the big deal? They'll be healthy. 3 weeks from now, 4 weeks from now, they'll be healthy, and they'll run through everybody. Nobody can touch them.
Wait, I feel like I'm that person, but continue.
I'm like, I don't think you are. I mean, you've moved your meter. I mean, there's people that don't have
my meter, but I feel like they're going to be healthy, Rick. Are you telling me something else?
Okay, they might be healthy, but does that mean that they're not vulnerable to getting beat? Are you convinced they're winning another championship?
I'm pretty convinced.
Okay, then you are one of those people. You're annoying. You're annoying the hell out of me.
Who do you see topping them? I mean, let's start with the West here.
Well, see, that's the thing. This is the part that I understand, is that you don't look out there and you say, oh, that's the team. That's the team that I think they're vulnerable to everybody. I don't think it's a matter of that there's one team out there that they have to be afraid of. I think they're not the same Warriors. And we're talking about a Warriors team. Like everybody's like, oh, they've gone to the finals the last 3 times. They won 2 out of 3. They could have won 3 out of 3. Yeah, you know what? And they could have not made the finals at all 2 years ago when they were down 3-1 to the Oklahoma City Thunder. They've had some miraculous things happen. They were up 3-1. And with Steph Curry compromised with a knee injury that wasn't as bad as this one, they ended up losing. I'm a little tired of the ignoring where they are and what has happened to this team and this presumption that everything's going to be fine. Let's just look at the circumstances. These are unusual circumstances. Their top 4 stars are all hurt at the same time. It is an interesting dynamic because there have been some holes poked into the initial report by ESPN as far as the timeline is concerned. Those who are supporters of Sean Miller and of the University of Arizona are immediately going, see, they got it wrong, couldn't have happened, didn't happen. All right, slow down on that. Because it so happens that if you go back and you look at Rick Pitino and you look at Louisville and you look at the player involved there, Brian Bowen, he was also mentioned as far as interest by Arizona. And there's $100,000 that supposedly they paid DeAndre Ayton. You know what the number was for Brian Bowen and his involvement with Louisville? It was $100,000. So I'm not ready to look at ESPN potentially legitimately having some flaws in their reporting as far as the timeline is considered as to when this happened, and throw out the whole idea that the University of Arizona basketball program wasn't looking to pay DeAndre Ayton to come to their school. And if that happened, then that falls on Sean Miller. He can say, as he said in the press conference today, in fact, do we have the Sean Miller and his statement? This wasn't a press conference. Let's be clear. When you have a press conference, you take questions.
On my sound sheet, it says Thursday press conference. Just so you know, Rick is rejecting that this was a press conference. I respectfully disagree with you. I think this is a press conference, even though he wasn't taking any questions.
No.
You call the press together, unfortunately...
No. That's an announcement. A conference is you have a discussion. Conferring is you discuss something. There is an exchange. There was no exchange here. LeBron James wants to be everything to all people. You open up a school. You do it for the people in Akron. I honestly don't need to hear how you wish you could be there, because the truth of the matter is, if you really wanted to, this is all about priorities. If you really wanted to, you could be there. And I don't know that it's even important that you are. I mean, you've already done a tremendous amount for these kids. You going back whenever you can will be plenty. They're knowing that you're from Akron and you have the wherewithal to live wherever you want once you grow up. Like, I have no problem with that message. It's trying to go for that little extra of, gosh, I wish I could be there for them every day. I'm sorry, but do you really? Because if you really did,
I sincerely
you could
believe it.
But then you could be. Like, if that was that important, play for the Cavs, oversee the school, make it about that instead of, because it's not like He left the Cavs and he's going to the Lakers because it's the only place I can play for a championship. Nah, it's the only place you can live in Beverly Hills. It's the only place that Bronny can go to Sierra Canyon. It's the only place that you can be right there having lunch with all the movie moguls. And
I think you're being
and I don't
too
have a problem with any of that. But just
I have to stop you. I think you're being too critical.
I
know you wish, Rick. Hold on.
This is where the NFL clearly has an incredibly they're in a tough spot because there's no question that players are aware now that football results in head injuries. And they're looking for a way to avoid those head injuries. Here's the problem. You can't do it with a rule. And maybe the worst of all this is that this is a brand new rule. We don't know how it's going to be applied. We know that it's going to be difficult. And the Chicago Bears have been unable to sign their number one pick, linebacker Roquan Smith, because they want to put language in his contract that frees them of any responsibility if he is suspended by this new rule. Forget how crazy that is to try to do that with anybody. But to do it with your number one pick, a brand new guy, where the Bears are in their evolution as a team, a guy who you're looking at as the future leader of your defense, and you're going to ruin that relationship right from the start. Because they'll probably get a deal done. They'll probably figure something out. But if I'm Roquan Smith, I never look at the Chicago Bears quite the same way again, simply because they tried to put something like this in there. They tried to protect themselves from a rule that very likely is going to screw me over in doing my job. What does that tell me? We're not on the same team. You're more worried about you than you're worried about us. That's not a good place to start with a guy that you hope is going to be a future leader of your team.
Tom Brady doesn't look good.
You're damn right he doesn't.
His body is not the focus here. It's the performance. It's the pliability. It's being able to last into your mid-40s.
Okay, but you and I have to find a happy medium on this. Because I'm not looking for him.
He's never had a good physique, and I don't think he ever will unless he absolutely dedicates himself to having a good physique, and that's not his priority.
But this is a bad physique for someone who's talking about diet. I don't need him to flex. I don't need him to have the washboard abs. However, if he's being really conscientious about his diet and his eating, he better not have the tire. He better not have the handles. Don't tell me you think in
seeing that photo that he's fat.
He's pudgy.
No.
He's got some handles on his hips.
Tom Brady is not fat. His body may not be that of an Adonis or someone like Bryce Harper from the Body magazine back in 2015.
Bit of flab.
But what he has is just a healthy body that is, in his mind, going to last him until his mid-40s because it's stretched properly, conditioned properly. Doesn't matter. You could be yoked and your bicep could rip off of your arm, and then what do you have?
You are correct in all of that. But if I'm thinking about my post-playing career and selling TB12 to the public as something to adopt, as something that this is going to make you healthy, and I have Julian Edelman being suspended for 4 games, and I have an Instagram photo out there that, and look, I'm not alone on this, the people have mocked that photo. That is not good advertising for my business. And I just wonder whether he's looking at the TB12 method, brand, etc., taking these hits and thinking, this is supposed to be my bread and butter as I move on from playing, and it's getting crushed right now. Not what he said, it's how he said it. If he had Instagrammed out there or tweeted, I hate not being out there with my guys, that's one thing, which I think is the way the Philadelphia 76ers and Brett Brown are taking what he said. But that's not what he said, or that's not what he wrote. He wrote, effing sick and tired of being babied. That's an accusation at the organization. And I don't know that it's necessarily what Joel meant to convey, like he's pissed off at the doctors that they won't let him play. But that's how I interpret that. And
because he feels fine, Rick. This is an orbital bone fracture. This isn't a knee or an ankle or something where you're coming back from it and there's still swelling and you're feeling the pain. I'm sure he feels like he can play his best game. The problem with this is when you get hit in that same spot, it can cause permanent damage. So they're taking precautionary measures based on that.
Sure. And that's understandable. There's understandable in him being 24 years old with his injury history, with the value that he has for the organization, the fact that they just signed him to a 35-page big money contract. Like, all of that makes sense. The approach that the 76ers are taking makes perfect sense. What Joel Embiid is saying is, I don't care. I want to play anyway. And it's like, okay, well, what part of this don't you get? Like, this is the smart way to go because of the risk involved. You're not being babied. We're being prudent. We're not, there's real risk involved here. And that's why the way he said it is juvenile. But now this is where he's drawing himself into a comparison with Kawhi Leonard, because by all indication, that's what Kawhi Leonard is doing. Kawhi Leonard is questioning the Spurs organization because they said he can play. Joel Embiid is kind of doing the same thing from the other side of the equation. He's saying, I'm questioning the organization because you say I can't play. But it's both are the same thing. You're questioning the medical soundness of your organization. This wistfulness, talking about Tiger, he's putting the pieces together, trying to take promise out of what he did. He shot a 69 on Sunday. It's coming together for him. And I'm thinking, stop already. He is, I don't know where he's ranked right now, but I think I can safely say, Jared is saying that he's moved up to 88th. Okay. There are 80, that means, correct me if I'm wrong, there are 87 other golfers who are better than him right now. Is that a fair guesstimate?
That is how math works, yes. Right.
Okay, thank you, Jared. So, as my son would say, facts.
87 plus 1. Good job.
87 players who are better than Tiger. We should not be talking about Tiger putting all the pieces together and his chances of winning a Master again or any of that until we have broken down the other 87 and their ability to win a major or to whatever, to put the pieces together. Because it's become ridiculous. Let's stop it. I'm colored by the fact that I believed this last week going into the tournament, and then we had Mark live from PGA Tour Radio who basically confirmed that he said he's not going to win this weekend. He doesn't have a chance. He's not Tiger of old. He's playing, which is great, and I'm good with that. I'm happy to see Tiger back, and I am interested to see how he does. But this constant tongue bathing of he's coming back, he's taking another step forward. Stop it already. This is what I love about Knicks fans, and it's good to know that attitude is back. They all think that everybody wants to play in Madison Square Garden, that everybody wants to play for the Knicks, that everybody wants to be in New York. Really? I mean, other than Carmelo Anthony, and by the way, how did that work out? I like who's running the Knicks organization right now, and I do think that they are going to build this team back into something. But you're thinking along, honestly, when did you last have marquee free agents, all-stars who came your way? When we had the summer of LeBron, it was Amari Stoudemire
and they had
who
to
ended up
overpay
being
for
your
him.
guy.
They
overpaid for him, and they had to beg him to come there because they almost ended up empty-handed. I mean, this illusion that Knicks fans have that everybody, Kyrie wants to come home. Says who? Most guys I know don't want to play at home because you know what happens when you go home? You have all your family and your friends, everybody that you have known since kindergarten,
clingers.
and they all think they're going to get something now because you're there. More guys think that way than not. So this idea, I want to go home and play at home, it's not the way players think.
Guess what? It's a glorious day for Colts fans. He's throwing a football. Baby steps. Do you care that he's throwing a college-sized football right now? Does it matter to you? Because it doesn't matter to me.
What concerns me, though, is not that he's throwing a college football. What concerns me is that you are celebrating he's back. He threw between 20 and 25 throws. The clips that I saw, and I couldn't wait to see it, he didn't throw anything that was further than 15 yards. So, look, I hope that Andrew Luck is back because, for me, he is the best chance we have of seeing the next transcendent quarterback in the NFL. He was that good for dog dirt teams and dragging them to the playoffs. But where he is right now, he may feel it in his bones. I have to look at the fact that he didn't play a single game this past year. Until I see him throwing a regulation football and going through training camp and throwing, as to his heart's desire, a regulation NFL football, the Duke, then I'm going to hold my expectations rather low. You ever heard of the Carver Academy?
No, I don't know most of the schools that these professional athletes have opened, but I know, having worked in the community or in the sports world for as long as I have, LeBron James is not the first.
No, he's not. David Robinson is another one. We're going back a couple decades.
But does anyone care when David Robinson is sitting on a donut, an inflated donut in a pool, and tweeting out a photo? And
that is the times that we live in. That's how things have changed. But and so, in the same way, it comes with the territory. LeBron James, we hyper-examine everything that he does. All I'm saying is everybody is kind of saying, look at LeBron. Look what he did. Like, you shouldn't criticize him about anything because he did this extraordinary thing. He did an extraordinary thing. Other guys have done the same extraordinary thing. And it neither accepted them from criticism, nor did they make sure that everybody in the world knew that they were doing this great thing. So there's a yin and the yang here, and I'm just pointing out both sides of it. First of all, I don't accept the apology. Well, I don't make much of the apology. I did some stupid stuff. No, it's a little bit more than that. You said some racist, homophobic things in public. That's what you did. It's not silly, stupid stuff. Not when you're 18. I might give you the benefit of the doubt when you're 13 or 14 and a word first comes into your lexicon and you and your buddies are, don't know better. That these guys were 17, 18 years old and still putting honestly, I don't even care that they're a celebrity or not. Anybody who is spouting off racist, homophobic things publicly and wants to dismiss it as, yeah, that was just some, dumb, silly, stupid, juvenile stuff. At what point do we take this a little more seriously? At what point do we say, you know what? None of that is acceptable, whether you're a celebrity or not, whether you have 50,000 followers or you have 5. Behaving this way, referring to people this way, is not okay. And I'm not, we can get into the whole, even when it comes to repeating a rap line. The fact of the matter is, as soon as you repeat it, it's not a rap line. It's yours. Yeah. You bought it. You owned it. The NFL has known that head trauma created issues for NFL players. They knew that there were all sorts of alumni of the NFL who were dealing with issues as a result of their playing days, and they were not letting the new players coming in, they were not making them aware of that. We're letting 21, 22, 23, 24-year-olds make decisions on their long-term health. I know what I was like when I was 21, 22, sure. That age. I thought I was invincible. I could have used, and I think these guys can use, someone who says, hey, consider this. This is what you're risking. Now, if you don't want to do that when you're the NFL, if you just want to say, hey, look, we want these guys going out there and we want them knocking themselves out and busting themselves up and we're going to make money off of it now and we don't want to be responsible for it down the line, that's all well and good. But to Nicole's point, I believe that you owe them the service of saying, look, if you come play in our league, if you continue to play this sport, and this happens to you, this is what we know could be the ramification down the line. If you still want to sign that contract and play in the NFL, have at it. We're happy to have you. But you should know that this is the repercussion. And to ask an individual player to find all this out when the NFL has been documenting it for decades, it just doesn't sound fair on the whole of it. We have a Kawhi Leonard who, what is motivating him, supposedly motivating him to leave San Antonio and to go to LA? Obviously, part of it is that he supposedly no longer trusts the San Antonio Spurs and their medical staff. But the other part is he wants more endorsements. I heard on I was listening to Colin Cowherd's show earlier today. He made a reference that Kawhi Leonard is only making a $500,000 on his shoe deal. And you look at how talented he is, and you would say, okay, wait a minute. James Harden is making $200 million. He has a $200 million deal with Adidas, and Kawhi is making a $500,000. That there is a discrepancy there, no doubt. But if you want to do that, if you want to make more money in endorsements, you can't be the guy who says, I don't want to play in Toronto. I don't like the cold. You can't. That's not what gets you endorsements. Your lack of desire to play, or you only want to play where you want to play. That does not attract sponsors. So the fact that now he's supposedly warming up to Toronto, of course he is, because he realizes, you know what, I can't sit out.
I feel like there's going to be a happy ending in Toronto because you and I are so fond of Toronto and I didn't know anything about it. I'm going to go out there.
What's a happy ending?
I think a long-term deal next offseason.
No, I don't. Boy, you're way more up. Yeah,
Bold on a Thursday?
For me, a happy ending is that he goes up there, he plays well, he takes them farther than they've gone.